we'll wrap things up with an area that will have to be addressed sooner rather than later. We assume from the 49ers, the defensive coordinator spot. Croc, who is your defensive coordinator of choice? And if it differs from what you see the team doing, you can go ahead and lay both scenarios out.
Yeah, DeMeco Ryans. And, I've heard, obviously that's kind of like the hot name, but I'll say why I feel like it should be him. One, he has a limited experience coaching, right? But the things I do, like, one, he's been in the NFL as a linebacker, for 10 years, like playing. And linebackers are very unique in the sense of they have to truly understand the front end and back end, right? Cornerbacks, we know coverage stuff. I know kind of linebackers drops a little bit, but for the most part, I'm more focused on what I'm doing. Linebackers have to understand where guys are dropping, how coverage works and everything, because that works off of them. And then they also have to know front end because they have to know, their stunts, their blitzes, different, things. So they understand exactly how that whole thing moves and what makes it works and what they like. So they come in already, especially somebody like him that played linebacker for so long, with an interesting perspective on defense from that standpoint. And then when you look at it, like, all right, limited coaching, right? He's only been coaching since 2017. But since 2017, he's been with the 49ers.
Yeah, that's going to be my point too.
The 49ers got there. So when you look at somebody like Robert Saleh, also another former linebacker coach, I'm not saying all linebacker coaches works. I'm just saying, I'm just drawing parallels here. Robert Saleh, this was his first coaching first time plays as a defensive coordinator, right? And do you not think, these are two guys, yeah, okay, DeMeco Ryans, first time coaching, but he's been every single meeting with Robert Saleh, picks Robert Saleh's brain about everything that's going on with the linebackers, right? His linebacker core has probably been the most consistent unit on the entire defense since he's been there, right? And fairly been interchangeable. Even last game, man, you watch those linebackers with Al-Shaair and Demetrius Flanagan. Everybody that plays seems to be playing well. Oh, I wonder why. Oh, it's DeMeco Ryans coaching them. So, from that standpoint, he's been in every single meeting. He's gone over every single game plan with Robert Saleh. He understands exactly to a T this defense. They've grown together. All the struggles that maybe Robert Saleh had early on, guess who else was there for it? DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah.
Okay, what would you do? Okay, you want to do this different? They bounce things off of each other. Just like you guys probably communicate all the time or we talk, they do the same things times 10. So from a mental standpoint, I would think he understands exactly how to call a plan, defensive plan. I would guess he would have his own way of things that he wants to do things and work things in and stuff from maybe his experiences playing combined with his experiences coaching with the 49ers staff, and he formulate his own scheme that the base would probably be the same, but he'd have things that he likes to do differently. I just think from that standpoint, man, he makes a lot of sense to me. And then on top of that, you got the whole minority thing going on to where, Robert Saleh, if he does get a head coaching job, you get two third round picks, yeah. Next year. Well, DeMeco Ryans, who it sounded like people were trying to poach off the 49ers staff after 1 year, that's why they had to promote him to a linebacker coaching position. People are trying to get him. So now you have somebody who is like, hey, this guy, people look at him and, they kind of hold him to whatever. Now this somebody who, hey, you never know. In 2 years, he can become possibly a head coach. I don't know. Yeah. We've seen crazier, right? Look at Sean McVay. He was hella young and he, coached. Now, I'm not saying that Ryans is young. He's a little bit older, but in the sense of coaching experience, right? It'd be something similar to where he hasn't been a coordinator for that long or a coach for that long, but somebody that maybe gets elevated to that type of position. And again, 49ers will get another couple of draft picks. So I just think there's too much to like from that standpoint. He knows his players. He understands them. They know him. They understand him. I'm pretty sure he'd be the first person to interview, maybe Chris Kasarik, but I really like a lot of what DeMeco Ryans just has to offer from that standpoint.
Yeah. DeMeco Ryans, you just look at his career playing in the NFL. He was a first-team All-Pro, was a Pro Bowler twice. I went back and watched a mic'd up or a sound FX of DeMeco Ryans because I wanted to see what kind of energy he brought. He's Robert Saleh. You could see he has that same energy, you know, and I think that's what makes Robert Saleh so special. Why the defense rallies around him is because he's a leader of men. He gets people fired up, and DeMeco Ryans has those same qualities, and that is often overlooked. It's not always going to translate to being a great defensive coordinator, you know, the scheming up plays and calling the right plays in the right situations, blitzing when you're supposed to blitz, not blitzing when you're not supposed to blitz. You know, that's all important, but being able to rally men and get people to buy into what you're preaching is so important. And when I'm more concerned about all these coaches leaving the 49ers than any of the players, when you're looking at the run game coordinator, the pass game coordinator, the defensive coordinator, all potentially leaving, and then you have the front office things going on. I'm more worried about that than losing a Jason Verrett or a Kerry Hyder. How this shakes out with the defensive coordinator is going to say a lot about Kyle Shanahan over the next couple of years if it does not work out well. But I think the safest bet is DeMeco Ryans for the sake of chemistry, continuity, all of the above. It would seem like the most seamless transition. So Ryans has my vote. It's the most logical hiring, in my opinion.
And good teams do that. That's what they do. They develop coordinators.
Yes.
They lose guys to coaching jobs, and they promote the next guy up. We've seen the Patriots do it for years. A lot of places. That's what they do. They develop their guys, and you go to the NFL. Okay, here comes the next guy up the tree. Okay, you go get a head coaching job. Okay, here comes the next guy. And that could be kind of maybe what Kyle Shanahan ends up doing. He's already had guys leave to be coordinators. He's had a bunch of guys under him coach and be successful in other places. Some not be as successful like the offensive coordinator that went to the Broncos. But, I could definitely see something like that happen. People think that like, these guys just go get this guy, this retread or this retread. But you don't have to do that, man. You develop your guys just like you develop football players. You kind of next man up. You have coaches that have been around. They've done all the cut-ups and scouting and all this stuff, and they work their way up, and next thing you just bring them along, and next thing you know, they're in a position like DeMeco Ryans could be.
Yeah, and I think DeMeco Ryans should be the guy, but a couple names that I think we have to keep an eye out for. Gus Bradley, just departing the Chargers. That was Kyle's first guy when he got the head coaching gig. That Gus Bradley was his dude. Obviously didn't get him. And then another guy, Raheem Morris. If he doesn't get a head coaching job, he could be another candidate. But I personally would go straight to DeMeco Ryans and say, hey, this is your job as long as you want it. The reason being is because Fred Warner already knows DeMeco Ryans. Both of them see eye to eye together. And when your middle linebacker and your defensive coordinator are on the same page, it makes everything a lot easier because you could go to the sideline, you could talk to them, hey, coach, they're running a lot of this, they're running a lot of crossers on us. Let's change some shit up. So I think that's what they could potentially do, and I think DeMeco Ryans should be the next defensive coordinator for the 49ers.
And we do a lot of talking about Fred Warner. He deserves so much of the praise. He had a phenomenal season. Dre Greenlaw is a name that's often forgotten, and he's a cornerstone of the defense too. Watching Dre Greenlaw over the course of the second half of the season, he looked like just as good of a linebacker and at times even better than Fred Warner. His closing speed in his burst, the plays that he was making, and DeMeco Ryans, that's a 5th-round pick that DeMeco Ryans helped develop. So when you have two linebackers like Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, and your defensive coordinator is leaving and your linebacker coach who has grown with these young men, it's a no-brainer to me. It should be the absolute first choice of Kyle Shanahan, DeMeco Ryans.